Hello, and thank you for coming to the Muck Waters Effect. I'm your host, Matt, and today I'm looking at OAN. But first, I need you to hit like and subscribe. Helps the channel grow. Now let's take a look at this news article. Former Minnesota BLM leader reveals ugly truth behind the movement. A former Black Lives Matter leader explains why he decided to leave the movement. America's One, Zach Peterson has more. Alright guys, we're going to go in and watch this video.
And a former Black Lives Matter leader explains why he decided to leave the movement. Here's One America's Zach Peterson.
A former member and founder of Black Lives Matter in St. Paul, Minnesota reveals, quote, the ugly truth behind the movement. In a recent promotional video, Rashad Turner says BLM aims to eradicate school choice and the traditional nuclear family.
I was an insider in Black Lives Matter, and I learned the ugly truth. The moratorium on charter schools does not support rebuilding the black family, but it does create barriers to a better education for black children.
Turner, now the executive director of the Minnesota Parent Union, outlines his life after his father was killed and pointed to this as a reason for joining BLM, but says he soon realized the group's ideology had holes in it.
After a year on the inside, I learned they had little concern for rebuilding black families, and they cared even less about improving the quality of education for students in Minneapolis. That was made clear when they publicly denounced charter schools alongside the teachers' union.
Turner thinks BLM throws out propaganda that charter schools would eliminate the public schools. Newsflash, charter schools are public schools. Though still publicly funded, they are established independently through teachers, parents, and community members. Turner says the public education system has people who are sometimes literally dying for the lack of educational opportunity. And so, for Turner, when considering the benefits charter schools provide to students of color, for BLM to call for a moratorium or an end to charter schools indicates that something funny is going on behind the scenes. In order to be viewed as publicly woke, corporations and teachers' unions adopt the rhetoric of BLM, who says black liberation and justice can only be achieved through, quote, the disruption of the Western prescribed nuclear family structure, where male influence on the family is oppressive, sexist, and misogynistic. Turner realized how the movement appeals to the critical race theory to blame systemic racism and white supremacy for racial disparities in school discipline. For instance, the Institute for Family Studies finds about a quarter of black elementary and high school students have been suspended at least once, compared to 8% of white students and only 4% of Asian students. BLM points to this fact to suggest discrimination against black youth instigates the so-called preschool to prison pipeline. However, a Nation Household Education Survey shows 72% of black students live in single-parent homes, compared to 37% of white students or 26% of Asian students. BLM fails to acknowledge the data that indicates how children with one parent succumb to delinquent and often criminal behavior. Parting ways with Black Lives Matter, Turner is now focused on promoting school choice.
We're dedicated to helping parents move their children from failing schools to successful schools. It's hard work, and we're up against forces that don't want us to succeed.
BLM uses racial income disparities to justify their agenda against school choice, yet excludes the direct correlation between intact families and household income. Analysts say stability at home is the major contributing factor to any perceived racial disparities among students. Take Charge founder Kendall Qualls objects to this bigotry of low expectations, saying, quote, it's insulting to hear that black people can't get ahead because of systemic racism.
Over half of black students in Minneapolis public schools are failing, but black students in the same neighborhoods who attend private faith-based schools perform above national averages.
In contrast to BLM, organizations like Take Charge aim toward the restoration of the traditional dual-parent family structure and refuse to let teachers' unions restrict opportunities afforded to students by school choice. Zach Peterson, One America News.
Alright guys, that's the end of the video. And the reason Black Lives Matter is against charter schools is because the Democrat Party is. And they're an arm of the Democrat Party. Not only that, they're Marxist. It's a Marxist ideology. It's religion. It's based off of liberation theory and critical race theory. And it's all a lie. You know, a two-parent home is better than a one-parent home for children. Gives them a male role model, because that's really what the biggest problem is in a lot of these homes is there's no male role model. If there's male role models in the home, most of the time, the child does better. That it doesn't matter what color race you are. That's true. The idea that the biggest thing to do is get rid of the structure of a two-parent home across the board is ridiculous. The Black Lives Matter's idea on that is insane. But guys, that's my opinion. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please hit like and subscribe. Helps the channel grow. Peace.